TaxWorkFlow is a practice management solution that helps tax and accounting professionals automate business processes in their office, but the processes don't even have to be tax or accounting related. It has a client records management system organizing all the client related information in one place, including but not limited to project related work, tasks assigned to the employees, problems that these employees are facing when dealing with the project work. It has a built-in document management system with the client portal and the ability to sync a shared drive to the client records. It also has email syncing that helps keep track and retain for historical purposes every single email that you sent or received from a client. It also has time and billing system that helps you track invoices, payments, and deposits from your clients, as well as the work time. The calendar integration feature enables you to book appointments. The calendar bookings are also available on the client portal, along with documents that client needs to review or sign, as well as invoices that they can pay on the client portal as well. Let's take a look at the client records management system. You can quickly look up your clients by a keyword search. The client list on dashboard is customizable. You can add or remove columns or group clients by various criteria, for example, for return type or by state or entity type, using various grouping techniques. You can also look up your clients by full text search. When you open a client, on the left-hand side bar, you will see all the related information about various aspects of the client record, such as, by default, a detail form is displayed with the client fields, such as the fields for the primary taxpayer, the spouse, the information about the corporate data if it's a business record, as well as tax-related information, mailing address, and also TaxWorkFlow enables you to link multiple accounts together using master and secondary accounts. For example, if you have a person who owns 3 businesses, you can link them together, all the 4 records, the personal and the 3 business records, into one single relationship, and then use that relationship in the workflow as well. Besides the detail form, you can create custom fields to add additional information about the client that couldn't be added into the standard form we just saw a few minutes ago. The custom fields could be created using templates. The templates for custom fields allow you to create a text, time, money, yes or no, single choice, multiple choice list, and you can create custom fields not only for the client record but also for the projects and tasks as well. You can also capture some unstructured information in the memo field, which is a rich text document that you can paste in pictures, links, tables, charts. So anything you can paste out of Word, you can paste in here. It's not a plain text, it's like a Word document actually, that can contain information that didn't make it into the standard detail form or the custom fields. For example, links to the different logins into the client accounts and so forth. You can also take notes for the client. Notes has a timestamp and who entered the note, so it's really a historical track record of things that you have updated. Any information you received from client you can put in as a note, and the notes can be taken not only on a client record but on projects and tasks and invoices and payments, and eventually they will end up in the client records notes, so you can find a note taken on a project that has been completed 5 years ago. It's still going to be searchable and you will be able to see what that note was, even though the project is completed a while ago. You can also add additional people into the Associates tab. For example, lawyers, secretaries, relatives, anybody who may give you the information about this client, something like alternative contacts, who are not the actual taxpayers. That could be helpful to register people who also email you the information for this client. That way, the built-in email integration feature can also capture emails coming not only from the taxpayers directly, but also from their associates. If a lawyer sends you a document for Sylvia, you will be able to see that in the email list. Now, email integration enables you to sort and see the information you receive via email from your clients or the emails you are sending to your clients through the mailboxes that belong to your company. You can set up these mailboxes that you would like to scan and retrieve the email messages from. The TaxWorkFlow automatically sorts emails by client because it knows which emails are used by this client record. For example, this is the email that Sylvia uses, so anything going to or coming from Sylvia's email address listed here will be listed in the total list of emails under her client record. And again, that information is coming not just from one mailbox, it could come from a dozen different mailboxes organized automatically by TaxWorkFlow for you. It carries over the emails without touching them in the original mailbox. So for example, you can continue to use Outlook or the web browser, continue to use your existing email accounts. You will not notice any difference, or nothing will be changed in the way you can email to client from your existing email client application. But TaxWorkFlow will still have all the trail of email messages flowing through that account as a duplicate redundant storage or archive. If you delete a message from your mailboxes, it will still stay in TaxWorkFlow, and vice versa. You can delete messages in TaxWorkFlow and they will stay in your Outlook. Now, TaxWorkFlow has full capacity to open any email, including the attachments to that email, as well as reply to clients or send new client emails using templates. You can also see emails from all your clients on the dashboard. If you go to the Emails tab, you can select all the emails from Sylvia right here. So that would be all the emails going to or from Sylvia, all your correspondence with her. Now, the ability to store emails inside TaxWorkFlow gives you productivity benefits because now you can engage email messages right into the TaxWorkFlow. For example, create projects off of the emails, or assign emails to a task. For example, if you have a task to get client information and the client just emailed you some documents, you can just attach those emails to that task or a project. For example, we're working on a prepared tax return 1040 project for her, so we can attach emails to the project directly right from the email screen. You don't have to do any drag and drops. Another feature of the workflow is problem solving. We can also use email communications to solve the problems, and that is something that I'll show in just a few minutes later. Now, emailing to a client depends on email templates. There are different email templates for different situations depending on what type of information you would like to email to a client from TaxWorkFlow. You can create your own custom templates, such as, for example, birthday greetings. But depending on what exactly you're sending to a client, different email templates will be used. For example, if I would like to email a document as an attachment to my client, a template to email documents will be used with the attached document. So you can customize those templates and reuse them all the time in different contexts so that you don't have to type anything. The same way, for example, emailing of the invoices will work, or emailing problems you ran into while you were working on a tax return. Again, the thing to remember about TaxWorkFlow is that a lot of things are template driven, so you can create a template and then apply it over and over again so you don't have to do any extra work. Documents syncing and documents management in general is very similar to email syncing, because you can set up TaxWorkFlow to sync a folder or many folders that contain your client's documents on your shared drive, just like syncing with Google Drive or OneDrive. But TaxWorkFlow gives you more syncing options, because you can, with TaxWorkFlow, sync multiple locations into one single database and vice versa. And there is an option to select a two-way or one-way syncing as well. Now, there are many ways you can put documents into TaxWorkFlow. You can attach these documents to tasks or projects, and they will end up in the document management system, and you will be able to find the document even if the project or task has been done, again, a long while ago. You can obviously drag and drop. You can attach files from your local file system. But there are also additional features, such as printing into TaxWorkFlow. When you print to TaxWorkFlow, you will be prompted with a printer, and you select the TaxWorkFlow PDF driver, which will help you select which folder you want to save the document and which client you would like to assign it to. The document management system is integrated with the client portal, so you can at the same time publish a document on the client portal or email it as an attachment to a client as well. So if you need to deliver a client document to the client, there are many ways you can do that. One simple way would be to print it into the TaxWorkFlow and then deliver it either via the email attachment or more securely through the client portal. And the client portal will be discussed in a separate presentation. You can also scan into TaxWorkFlow and create a generic PDF document from various sources right within TaxWorkFlow as well. So you can scan it from attached scanners. We have integration with Fujitsu SnapScan scanners as well. So it's just pressing a button on the scanner and the document will show up in the TaxWorkFlow, where you can save it to the client record. You can also move over files from your attached phones or cameras as well, or you can create PDFs from pictures. We support 99 different picture formats that you will be able to create a PDF document from. The PDF creation in TaxWorkFlow is flexible, because you can merge multiple different file formats together in one PDF, including pictures and other PDF documents. You can split the documents into multiple files as well. So for example, I can here add some additional PDF instructions how to fill in a 1040 from the IRS. So we have a 4-page document, and then I can actually move pictures into a separate document. I can merge multiple documents into one using drag and drop the same way. But most importantly, the PDFs that you will create in TaxWorkFlow, they will be more efficient than just a bunch of pictures that you will originally get from your client, because TaxWorkFlow does the OCR for you. So the original picture that you scanned can be created as a searchable text. So for example, here I can select some text and I can copy it into a clipboard. You can also decide what type of quality you would like to have on your final document. For example, you can make it black and white, which may clean it up a little bit by removing the background, as well as additionally protecting this document with a password to open, print, and change the document that you deliver to your client, or in case you want to keep it in your records, again, you can password protect it so that if it contains some confidential information, only designated personnel can have access to it. So bottom line, the document management system is flexible enough to accommodate various acquisition and delivery of documents from and to your clients. You're going to organize your client documents into folders. The folders also follow templates. For example, you can set up a drafts folder to automatically publish documents that you put in there and notify your clients, advising them to log into the client portal and retrieve the document and get back to you with any questions. Alternatively, a different folder can contain separate notification that is different. So you can provide more specific instructions depending on what type of document you are publishing. For example, for final documents, you would like just to let the client know that the return was filed and there is nothing else to do. You know, there is no need to review anything anymore. It's done. But for drafts, you obviously need to put in some call to action advising the client to get back to you as soon as possible. And again, in the folder settings, you can see the email templates that will be used with placeholders that will be filled out with the relevant information taken off of the client record, the location of the document, and the document itself. So the templates that are used in TaxWorkFlow, they really start to shine when you start creating some sophisticated rules, especially the workflow rules that we're going to be discussing right now. The workflow is a combination of a project, task, and problem. And workflow is driven by templates, just like emails or documents. There are templates for your projects, your tasks, and your problems. Let's take a look at the Sylvia again. So we have a special tab there for projects that contains a tax return that we have been working on for a while now, for almost 6 months, or almost a year, 250 days, and it has an alert icon here. So let's take a look at what's going on with this project. Now, a 1040 project is based off of a template. A template describes how the project runs. It could be a recurring project or a one-time project, but most importantly, what this project is broken down into, such as the sequence of steps made by your staff in a certain order, such as in this example, it all starts with getting the client information and then scanning the documents, preparing, reviewing, invoicing, e-filing, and so forth. You can customize these tasks, and you can also define the rules how you would like to route tasks to different people. For example, depending on the relationship of the person, of the employee to the client, and the type of work that needs to be done. So you delegate task management to TaxWorkFlow using workflow rules. Instead of micromanaging the tasks, TaxWorkFlow can at least have a default task routing for you in place, but then you can obviously reassign tasks to other people individually or in bulk, and do some other things with the projects as they start to kick in. And as you start to manage them manually, you can still do that manual reassignment and project and task management if you would like to. But you don't have to, because TaxWorkFlow will take care of it. Now, going back to this project, we see that we got stuck at getting the client information. And as project is broken down into tasks, tasks can be broken down into problems. When you work on a certain task, chances are you will not be able to complete that task, like collecting client documents, because you requested documents from a client, but the client never sent you anything because, I don't know, he got in a hospital or anything could happen. So you can have the ability to track problems, stopping you from completing your work by creating a problem. And so, for example, if we create a problem on a task, we can use a special wizard that we can assign that problem to a certain project and task, and we can select a certain problem type from an existing list of problems. You can populate different problem templates depending on what type of risks you're facing in your company, anything that can go wrong. For example, missing client information, such as bank account numbers, or missing documents that you require for bookkeeping, such as statements, or for personal tax returns, it could be like loan statements or mortgage statements, anything, right? And TaxWorkFlow comes with a standard list of problems, but you can extend that list as well. So if a client came in first time, we're doing the returns the first time, we would like to request prior year returns to just look into this in greater detail. So we can create a problem that we need to retrieve additional information for our tax returns. And when we create a problem, TaxWorkFlow actually does a lot of things for you, including open up an email editor to the client listing these problems that you ran into right in there for you. So you can immediately notify your client about the information you requested. And it will again issue that requested information as a problem on a project as well as the task that you are waiting to complete pending the client provides you the information you requested. So that gives us a good explanation why we have never completed this return, even though it's been almost a year. A client never sent us several problems that we requested, such as his or her wage information and tax statements and so forth, including the one that we just created, such as prior personal or business tax returns. You can see the problems, just like projects. So if a client calls you in, you don't even have to remember everything that's going on. You can look up a problem right there and tell the client that you are expecting something to move on. And if you look at the tasks or projects in a total list of tasks and projects for that client, you will be able to see the tasks that have email attachments or notes or documents, as well as tasks that have problems in them. They will be marked with that red exclamation sign in the alert column, signaling that the task is suspended while you wait on the problem to be resolved. And you can see that information across all your clients in the dashboard as well. There is tabs for tasks, projects, and problems. So if we go to all the tasks, we will be able to see everything that assigns to me, to you, or to anybody in your company, and you can slice and dice that information using built-in TaxWorkFlow's interactive reporting capability. So you can slice and dice this information by, for example, grouping tasks by clients and filtering the tasks by type of work that you do. For example, obtaining information for various project types. Right, so these are the tasks that relate to different tax returns to obtain the client information. Alternatively, you can see all the problems that you're facing with all your clients. You can filter it down to see all the problems that are still require attention, and then you can do bulk emailing to remind your clients about those problems that you're waiting for. It will generate and compile the same email we saw when we were creating the problem originally. And if a client actually sends you documents you requested for problem solving, you can then solve the problem right away off of the email that you receive from a client. So this is the problem we just created a few minutes ago, and we can just go ahead and solve it by attaching this email containing the information we requested to the project and task. So when we go back to the project, we will see that the new problem has been solved, and we will be able to see the email attached to the task right here. So there are two emails. And besides emails, you can also attach files to a task or a project and keep track of notes. And if we take a note, it will show up on a task as well as the project, and it will also eventually end up in the client record as well. And the icons here will indicate where this note came from. So this came from a task within the project, and this note came from an invoice. You can create custom fields for projects and tasks to add some additional information that you want to keep track as part of your workflow. And again, the custom fields are similar to the custom fields in the client record. That again, it could be time, date and time, date, yes or no, money, text, and so forth. You can also keep track of your work time. That would be a separate presentation just in a few minutes, but you can, for example, quickly add a work time to this task to indicate how much time you spent after the fact working on a certain task or a project. I'm gonna just populate it with a default value. You can also use a begin work and end work buttons to capture information in a punch in, punch out clock time fashion. When you capture work time, again, just like notes or documents or emails, it will propagate to a project, propagate to a client record, so you will be able to see this work time that we added also in a client record as well. If we go to the work time for Sylvia, we will be able to see one new work time we just added on a task. So a few words about the templates customizations for the workflow. You can create your own project templates and describe how you would like them to behave. For example, you can make certain projects recurring, happening every year. Monthly bookkeeping, right? It happens every month, starts on the first of the month, and so you only need to launch this project once for your clients. It will reoccur based on the schedule you defined. You can also set the automatic deadline to be the end of the period, so it starts on the first of the month, should be due by the end of the month. You can also add some additional behavior, for example, update invoices as the project is created, either manually or automatically. You can also add additional prompts when you complete a project to enter the work time or review the client invoice or add some additional information in terms of notes or attachments. And you can also email to your client upon creation or completion of the project to notify the client about certain things. For example, for monthly bookkeeping, you would like to email every month a notice saying, hey, please send us your monthly statements for the previous month. We are starting to work on your October returns, so send us the September statements. When the project completes, you can send out a thank you note or just notify the client that the work has been done, and we just need to wait until the next year or next quarter, whenever the project is going to reoccur. The client is all set until that date and time in the future. You can also define templates for the tasks within the projects and describe how you would like to route these tasks. For example, if a project is run for a client ABC that John is in charge of, he's a client representative for that client, the task to get the client information will be assigned to John. But if Mary is a client rep for XYZ client, then the task to get the client information for XYZ client will be by default assigned to Mary. You can create more sophisticated relationships by creating rules such as who does tax returns, who does bookkeeping, who does sales taxes for different clients, and then route different tasks based on your staff's roles and responsibilities for this particular client or a group of clients. So for example, if you have 3 different CPAs covering a third of your client base each, you can assign them as bookkeepers for each client, and so depending on who's doing the bookkeeping work for which client, you will be assigning the bookkeeping tasks to those individuals who are already doing the same work for this client anyway. So that will help you set up sophisticated rules routing different tasks to different people within your office, so you don't have to think about it all the time, and you pretty much repeat prior processes. For example, if somebody did the tax returns last year for this client, you don't have to think about it. The TaxWorkFlow will assign the same person as a tax preparer, so you will be more productive and you won't have to spend too much time deciding who is in charge of doing what task. There are some additional workflow rules which I'm going to skip during this presentation. Again, they are tailored to create some additional behavior overrides, such as what happens when you fail a task, what happens when a task is completed and you would like to, for a group of clients, launch another project, and so forth. Any business process in your office can be automated using TaxWorkFlow's rules, and you will stay productive without too much effort micromanaging your workflow. So when you finish setting up your project templates, you will start using these projects in your client records. One client can have multiple different projects running, for example, personal tax returns, IRS tax resolution. For business clients, it could be monthly bookkeeping, annual business tax returns, and so forth. And that could be a mix of recurring or non-recurring projects. And as a manager, you will be able to see what is going on for all your clients. If you go to the projects, you can see what projects by type is running for which clients. Alternatively, you can consolidate the projects by client name. So Daniel Collins, for example, has 2 payroll tax returns running for him, but Kevin Gilbert has some overdue quarterly bookkeeping projects that we haven't been able to complete on time. And so here is where interactive reporting capability of TaxWorkFlow shines, because you can create these reports on the fly by applying various filters. For example, show me projects that have been completed today or last week, or show me all the future projects that are scheduled to recur in the future, and so forth. And then if you identify certain issues, you can actually create off of that report a list of actions that you would like to apply to many projects at once. For example, reassign projects to another manager in bulk, or complete or delete these projects, or change the deadlines. The same applies to the tasks. For example, you can group all the tasks by task owner. You see that David Johnson has a lot of things to work on, but John Smith has only 1 task. So you can select multiple tasks and reassign them away from David to people who are idle right now, such as John Smith, and that will do that in bulk. As you work on your projects and tasks, it's mission critical that you maintain your billable information intact. And TaxWorkFlow gives you the ability to keep track of the invoices, populate them manually or automatically as you go through the workflow rules, and keep track of the payments and deposits, which are retainers, prepaid amounts that you can apply against the invoices that you issue to your clients for payment. Just like anything else, invoices are based on invoice templates. So let me create a simple invoice and add a simple line item here for tax preparation services. The line items are also driven by templates, so you can create your own expense, income, and work time accounts and link them to different offices and users. So depending on where the work is performed and who performs it, the different rates can be applied. And when you preview this invoice, it will use a certain invoice template to display the invoice as a PDF. And you can create your own invoice templates, such as this one, that contains my logo and has a different font as well as color that is red, so that you can highlight certain amounts or certain line items within the template itself. And again, you can create these templates in the settings, just like you would create templates for your emails. You can create templates for the invoices. TaxWorkFlow has a built-in editor for invoice templates that is driven by Excel spreadsheet. It has native support for Excel spreadsheets. You don't have to have an Excel installed to be able to create an Excel spreadsheet within the TaxWorkFlow, so don't worry about that. But what you can do here is use the built-in TaxWorkFlow's capabilities to manage Excel spreadsheets to create an invoice. Or if you already have a template in an Excel format, you can just paste it in here as well. And you can apply different formatting, such as borders, colors, fonts, and so forth, merging, comments, and etc., etc., etc. So it's very flexible. It will give you the ability to customize your look and feel of your invoices right away. So when you issue the invoice to your client, it's going to be depending on which office this client belongs to, and depending on whether you want to issue a full detailed invoice or just a invoice with just simply amounts, total amounts that the client needs to pay, you will be able to set up that in TaxWorkFlow as well. So when you create an invoice, you can add different line items. Could be expense, income, or work time accounts. When you add work time accounts, you can select the already accumulated work in progress billable time. This one we already captured in one of the projects a few minutes ago, so I'm going to add this to my invoice as well. You can add the work time in bulk too, to different invoices, to different clients. So you don't have to do that individually, one-on-one. You can also do that in bulk. For example, you can open up all your work time that is still billable, and we can multi-select these work times, and or we can use a right click and add to different invoices. The tax workflow will figure out which invoice to apply the work time to. Coming back to the single invoice management, we can add additional invoice items in here. For example, postage and delivery, and then credit card processing fee. You can create these accounts yourself, and at some point, if the invoice becomes big enough, you can actually merge multiple accounts into one. If you don't want to be too detailed, you can merge 3 line items under a different account as well too. So we can just accumulate everything under tax preparation services and have only 2 line items instead of 4. Now when a client pays the invoice, a create new payment wizard opens, and you can apply the payment to different invoices at the same time. So for example, we have 4 invoices outstanding for Sylvia, so we can check them all if we received $1,895 payment. So we can just pay them all at once in full. But if you received a limited amount, for example $200 instead of $2,000, obviously we can't pay all of these invoices, but we can adjust that amount and pay the oldest invoice in part, and the remaining due balance will be only $425. Alternatively, if we received a big check for $3,000, that would be an overpayment, and there would be a remaining amount of $1,530 that we can either refund back to client because he paid too much, or we can create a new deposit and use that deposit to apply the prepaid amounts over to new invoices that we will create. And deposits are a great tool to track your retainers. You don't have to create an invoice to register a deposit. You can just create a deposit right away and apply this deposit amount over to the open invoices. And you can have multiple deposits open for a client, and you can pay one invoice from multiple sources, partially from a deposit, partially from a check that you received. So just for simplicity, we're going to pay the invoice we just created for $625. Once we register this invoice as paid, it becomes paid in full, and a new payment is created for this client, a payment from check for $625. If we open up that payment, we will be able to see which invoices were paid by this. And you can attach files and notes or edit the memo for this payment as well as the invoice before, during, and after you pay the invoice, so that you can keep track of some additional information such as a copy of the deposit slip or the copy of the original check, just to have some information available if you want to keep track of that information, of the method of payment as well. So invoices have various statuses in TaxWorkFlow. They could be draft invoices. That would be the invoices that are still being edited, meaning that you are still adding some line items to it. And one of the other ways of adding the line items would be to use a service income wizard that can be customized to reflect your own pricing structure as well. Alternatively, you can use this standard invoice editor form, and besides the work times and expense and income accounts, you can also apply credits or referral credits. Referral credits is something that is built into the client record management system that allows you to keep track of the referrals. That would be the tab here in the client record. If a client referred some other clients for you, such as, for example, Jerry Madison, we can apply a $25 credit. We already did that in the past, so it shows it here as applied. We applied a $25 credit to an invoice to stimulate our clients to refer new customers to us. So the invoice can be paid in full, draft, paid in part, and you can sync the invoices with QuickBooks desktop version as well. When you sync it with QuickBooks, it will update the information in QuickBooks related to your client, line items, invoice status, as well as it will create a payment record in QuickBooks as well if the invoice is paid. So you can transfer the billable information from TaxWorkFlow into QuickBooks, where you may want to continue to maintain your accounts receivables. A lot of our clients do that, and so you can sync whatever you have manually or automatically accumulated in TaxWorkFlow over to QuickBooks. At some point you may want to run different queries for your billable status. This whole reporting functionality is standard across the entire application. So for example, if you would like to see who has billed how many clients in the last week, we can see that report by applying various filters. Maybe we can use a different filter, let's say past, well, the entire history. Let's do that. So we want to see how many clients Art has billed to date. So he billed 2 clients, one client for 3 hours, the other one for 10 hours. And if we had more people in the system, we would be able to do the similar breakdown by user, by client, by different type of work. So you can slice and dice that billable information that relates to the work times right in here. And again, these buttons are available for you right on this report, so you can take action on anything that you see on the report that doesn't make sense or needs to be fixed, needs to be transferred over to the invoice. The same applies, for example, to payments. You can see how many payments you received by office or by client. So to date we have received that many payments from all our clients, and you can export that information to Excel. That's how it's going to be exported. Every report in TaxWorkFlow is exportable to an Excel spreadsheet, so you can print it as well. You can print preview it, but also you can export it to an Excel. If you need to combine multiple sources of information in an Excel spreadsheet, one of the sources being TaxWorkFlow, you can easily do that. Now that concludes the presentation. That's a very short overview. There are features that we haven't covered, such as emailing campaigns or calendar, that is also integrated with the client records management system and the client portal. Those items are discussed in dedicated webinars and presentations on our website, so please visit our blog at blog.workflow.rocks to see additional videos, to see additional training material, and that will help you make a better decision whether TaxWorkFlow can help you be productive in your office or not. Thank you for your time.